and welcome back to Global Sources Virtual Summit. We are now going to be talking about product research, and for that I have with me Dilip Vamanan from Seller App. Hi Dilip, how are you?
Hey, hi, Mekla. Nice to be with you.
Yeah, nice to be with you too. Thanks so much for joining us today. So, Dilip, why don't you introduce yourself for our audience here and tell people about your background and your experience and how do you help Amazon sellers?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. So, hi there. This is my home office quarantine. Right now, working from home, helping thousands of sellers. And over the past few months, essentially everything has changed. The way in which people buy online has changed. The people, the how you budget things changed. Everything has changed, right? So, and this is an unprecedented time, and you can see the growth of e-commerce over the past few months, which is obviously we have got over the past 8 months, we have got close to 10 years of growth. So I'll be very excited to share the journey. So let me go ahead and show my slide deck if we can.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead and do that.
Great.
Tracy is saying hello, Dilip.
Okay, hi. Okay, I hope you can see my screen.
Yes, we can see your screen, and yeah, now it's presenting. So yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm very excited to be here. I believe we have partnered with Maitland and their global sources team 3 to 4 times previously, but all in actual physical conferences, right? And this is the first time we are doing a virtual summit with the global sources team. Really excited. So, in the beginning itself, I wanted to tell that I'm a tech person turned entrepreneur. So all my slides are going to be mostly from the data, from the insights and the analytics which we are seeing of the sellers who are using Seller App platform, right? So product research with a long-term focus. So before we begin the presentation, I wanted one help from all of you. I just wanted all of you to type in there in the comments, how long are you selling, right? Is it 1 year, 3 years, 5 years? Please feel free to input your inputs, and we can. I mean, essentially, this is a very wide subject, and it's not possible for me to essentially cover the entire topic in the next 3 minutes, 30 minutes. But what I can always do is I can work closely depending on the kind of responses I'm getting. I can kind of give more emphasis to some of the slides and then explain.
Right. So type in the comments, guys, how many years, months, days you've been selling for. If you have not been selling, type in not selling. Okay. So
Yeah,
Michaela has been selling for 1 year,
nice.
Amy, 2 months, Ulrich, 8 months, 6 years.
Hmm.
Who is selling for 6 years? Facebook user. You need to give StreamYard access to your Facebook profile. Go to streamyard.com/Facebook and give StreamYard access to your profile so we can see who you are.
All
Peter
right.
Luxembourg, 7 years. So we've got a
Nice.
mixed crowd here, Dilip. It's going to be tough for you.
All right, the chat is lightning. That's great. Before we start, let me just tell you an introduction. So I'm saying I'm not a seller. I have never sold even a dime on Amazon or any other e-commerce marketplace for that matter. Never reached 7 figures. Because I'm very, when I see some of the other speakers in the conference, I'm very honored to be in the same crowd. Never sourced a product, global sources or any other platform, and even never did product research for selling, right? But my experience has been as a co-founder of a company, data analytics startup. And these are some of the credentials of our company. Like, we are one of the top 10,000 visited websites in the global internet. The Alexa ranking is close to 9,000, and we are one of the most rated apps on Amazon App Store, and also helping various different brands, right? I mean, brands across all the different categories who are making tons of millions of dollars per month in terms of revenue, right? So why did I show all the previous slides, right? This is just to show my credential as a startup or as a tech entrepreneur who has seen and spoken to many long-term sellers, right? And I mean, and this question also arises in you, like, how long is long term, right? Is it I see all the various responses out there: 1 year, 3 years, 7 years, 10 years. So how do you tweak your strategy, or how do you tweak your performance, or how do you tweak your future strategies based on your current status, right? So feel free to reach out to me after this call or during this webinar, either of of my social handles or on my email address, right? So let me just come to the textbook definition of product research, right? So product research is a process of analyzing trends to find product or products that can generate your target sales, right? Finally, a winning item or items, right? So now, why I specified here target sale is, I have seen varied amount of sellers who, some of them who just started and who are only looking to replace their monthly salary. I've seen people who are essentially looking at making gross revenue of, let's say, $50,000 per month. I have also seen sellers who are big brands, who are Fortune 500 companies, who are essentially looking for multi-million dollars of gross profit, right? So depending on the phase of your journey, your product research really differs, right? So in this slide, I might come into the left side, which is a beginner category, not in terms of size, but in terms of my product research experience. But what I say is, like, if your strategy can really differ depending on the phase of your e-commerce journey, right? So you might be in the first bracket of yet to identify the first product which you want to sell on Amazon, or you might be having a product which is making reasonable amount, like let's say less than $10,000 in terms of revenue, right? So in that case, you will be classified as a beginner seller, right? Now let's say like you are making close to $50,000, some or less, like less than $100,000 in terms of monthly revenue. You will be classified as an intermediate seller. That means you have got some success. You generated some revenue, not a lot, but some revenue. And at this point of time, you're also looking at expanding your portfolio, right? You're either understood your current product, you understood your current niche, and you are essentially looking at launching new products or category of products, or you're also trying to identify more profitable products to sell, right? So at this point of time, when you approach product research, it's totally different from the way in which you approach your product research as a beginner seller, right? So we recently, I was speaking to a seller who is making close to $300,000 from right where you are, Mekla, like from Singapore. The person is already making around close to $200,000 in terms of monthly revenue. And at this point of time, the person understood the category, understood the niche, and also trying to launch a couple of more products which can essentially help him in a long term, right? And again, this is a completely, totally different ball game if you are an advanced seller and you are actually making, let's say, $1 million per month in terms of revenue, right? At this time, your journey is totally different. The aim is totally different. Your focus is totally different. You are looking at a category domination, right? You basically wanted to be the de facto seller out there in that particular category, in that particular niche. And you, again, your intention might be to have an year-long demand product, or you may be trying to look at products which can only win during the holiday season, right? So I, again, need another help from you. At this point of time, I would like you to please put in the chat, Mekla, please keep an eye on it. Wanted to get your input on which phase of your journey you are in, right? Are you, again, a beginner seller, or are you essentially an intermediate seller, or are you essentially a advanced seller, right?
Okay, so guys, type in the chat if you are beginner, intermediate, or advanced. I guess the people who previously said that they are, they've just started out, so they are definitely beginners, right? And then there were a few people who were like 6-7 years, so those would definitely be considered more advanced sellers. Okay, so we've got intermediate, we've got beginner, and beginner, not selling yet in production, beginner, intermediate. Yeah. So mostly beginner, intermediate, and then a few sellers before. I mean, they said they've been selling for 6-7 years, so those would definitely be considered advanced.
Okay. Oh my gosh, that's actually really exciting, because we have a wide range of people attending this event. That's amazing. So now, so again, back to basics, right? I mean, we have looked at various factors. There are n number of factors out there affecting your product research, but finally, it actually comes down to these 3 points, right? The first one is your price, the price range in which you want to start selling the product. The second one is essentially the positioning of your product, and the third one is finally the product, right? It doesn't matter whether you come with a great price, maybe undercutting all your competition, whether you have a great positioning, but finally, if it is not able to solve the pain point of an actual buyer, the product is not going to work out, right? So again, let me actually go through all the major checklist in this webinar. And as I told you, like 20 minutes is not good enough essentially to go really, really in depth. But what we have prepared is we have also prepared a couple of other decks as well as checklists, which you can download offline after this session, right? So let me come to the first point, which is the price, right? I mean, all of you know this is a very, very important factor, and this is a very, very important stimulant for the customer purchases, right? And a lot of people are actually very, very, really, really focused on the price of the product, and they also like to essentially go into multiple products, check the price range, and then buy the product. Unless you are a product like Nike. Okay, Nike is not selling on Amazon right now, but again, as a brand, but there are third-party sellers selling there. But again, as a buyer, this is a very, very important factor, which is essentially giving a huge inclination for your people to buy the product, right? So what I have seen is from people who are actually making good profit, gross revenue. I'm not talking about the sales. I'm talking about people who are making gross revenue. People tend to lie in this bucket, which is $20 to $50 bucket, right? And again, there are always exceptions. There are always sellers who are not in this range, but again, making a good gross profit, right? But that's what the general tendency, or 80% of the 80 in the 80-20 rule, right? That's the 80% of the sellers come to. And again, a little bit more details about the pricing. When you also look at the pricing, you always need to look at essentially the various other factors which comes into your net profit or net revenue, which comes the gross revenue which comes to your company, right? So you need to always look at essentially the various Amazon charges, which can be the referral charges, the variable fees, fulfillment fees, all those aspects, again, you need to consider, right? Again, this is also an important factor, because depending on the category which you choose, this can also change very, very widely. We have seen around 6% to 45% change in terms of the referral fees. And there are categories where we have seen up to 45%, which is like very alarming, right? So this is a very, very important factor. Pricing is a very, very important factor when you think about the product and what price you feel your target audience will actually buy your product. The second very, very important aspect, which is the positioning of your product, right? And we are very fortunate to have a lot of experts speaking at the same conference, talking about positioning and how your brand can stand out. We have a lot of eminent speakers out there. So this is going to be the second most important factor, because again, okay, obviously you have a right price, but again, if you are not able to convey your product positioning within that single page, within that product page, people are not going to convert, right? You will get a lot of sessions, but you won't get conversions. The CTR will be low, right? So again, there are a lot of things you can do here. You can look at your keywords, you can look at your title of your product, you can look at your bullet points, the images, description, lot of other factors, right? Again, this is an important factor. And the last and the most important factor, again, is going to be the final, what is your final product, right? The price and the positioning is important, but very, very equally crucial part of the product research is going to be the product itself, right? So I have seen our ecosystem specialist Amivi is talking a lot about doing product research without a software like Seller App or any other software. Really, really a big fan of Amivi's, and I have gone video, and one of the major factors she says is essentially work first on the pain points of the users, right? What are the pain points you're actually seeing? This can be essentially around you, this can be in your office, this can be at your home, because a lot of people are actually quarantined like me, right? I mean, maybe you will also have a kid like me who is a 5-year 6-year-old kid, and there are a lot of new requirements from your kid and your family and everybody, especially since you're spending a lot more time at home than in school. So this is a very, very important factor where you can identify from your pain points, the pain points around you, the challenges around you, to identify a product, identify the pain points of different customers, and then speak with a lot of customers, and then finally come with a product, right? I'll say that, so we recently did a one-to-one session with an established seller, and what we had actually encouraged the seller to do was to create a proper mind map of the product and all the use cases around the product, right? Because that kind of helps you. This opens up your mind. This opens up the mind of your entire team to understand what are the different values you can convey either on your product page or on any other promotional material which you're going to create, right? So the first step is to know your audience, right? Understand the pain points of the customer, how this product which you are innovating is going to help to solve their problem, right? And so what we had created is we have again gone back into the data which we have, the wide range of data which as a platform we have, and we created essentially a list of categories. We also created a list of categories which are essentially doing great, especially over the last I mean, everything has changed in the past 10 months, right? You have seen everything has changed. The categories which are doing great has started either moving down or either doing okay kind of state. But what we have seen is a steady growth in many categories which are mentioned here, right? Let's say the health category, the food and beverages, and we have seen also decline similar way. We have also decline in many categories like luxury or fashion and apparel, all those stuff, right? So just to keep the interest of time, what we have done is we have created a list of best and worst product categories, and it's actually downloadable as a report. So you can again reach out to me offline, and I'll be happy to share with you that, right? Again, you can reach out to me. You can put it in the chat, or you can click on the link which Mekla has shared, and we can send you the list of best and worst categories. Okay, so now, as I told you, these are the 3 important points, which are the 3 P's of product research. But again, there are very smart people like who does their product research without using any softwares, right? And there are advantage and disadvantage for using. So especially like let's say you are from a traditional retail background, and you have been speaking to customers over a period of last 10, 20, 50 years. And at this point of time, you know the customers really in and out, right? You know what their pain points are. You know what problem will solve their problem. So in that case, you are already in a very, very advantageous situation, right? So you don't need to really depend on a software to essentially take your decision in terms of product research, right? But a software will essentially all the softwares, including our software, is essentially all of us. What we try to do is we try to create different estimations. We use different machine learning models to essentially kind of create different models. We create different estimations. We create different forecasting to essentially suggest these are the kind of sales you can expect. These are the kind of demand which is there in the market. Or these are the different conversion rates in different categories, right? But again, all these are indicative points. These are not absolute numbers. So be very clear when you actually do the product research using any software, right? So again, here we are actually seeing a sudden spike in one of the Lysol products, rb.com. And in this case, like we have seen suddenly a business shooting up from the month of Feb, and the trend continues. And in many of the cases, the product is not available on the market, right? I mean, you cannot buy these products on marketplaces. Again, I'm again putting the checklist again. So here you will actually see the price. Essentially, also you're also looking at some kind of minimum sales velocity you can achieve with that product. And again, it also depends a lot on your strategy, because as you know, there are products which are seasonal in nature, and there are products which are actually year long in terms of trends, right? So we have seen advantage and disadvantage for both the strategies which you are taking, right? So again, let's come to the actual execution, right? So how to do product research, right? And I'm also a big fan of doing product research without using any software. You can essentially read a lot of discussions within social platforms. You can also read from Reddit and Quora and all other places where you see the actual pain points of customers, and you basically talk to those people. You understand, as I told you, like you can create the real mind map, and based on that you can do product research. That's one approach. And but I kind of tend to suggest my customers a kind of a hybrid approach, where you kind of create a you do all the basic hypotheses using the actual customer research, and then you kind of verify all your hypothesis using an automated software like Seller App, right? Here, what you do is, I mean, in most of the softwares like us, where one of the important feature is actually the product research, right? Where you input a keyword and it actually gives you output of set of products which are already existing in the marketplace, with very, very relevant data points like estimated sales, estimated revenue, orders, what are the average ratings, reviews, all those various points, right? Again, we have created a checklist to see what are, again, good products or what are not good products, right? Again, you can download the same, right? So here, this is, as I told you already, these are also predictions or estimations or forecasting, which is based out of various models which we have built, right? So here it actually helps you to also help you to understand the sales velocity, the rankings, all those factors, right? Also, it helps you to gauge the competition. Along with that, so this is an example of a product research tool. And for doing that, all the softwares, including us, kinds of look at a vast amount of database. So Amazon has close to 500 million products, and we kind of look at around 35 to 40 million products. And we look at the trends and in-depth analysis of all the data points which are important for you to predict the sales for that, right? And then we kind of arrive at a metrics in terms of thing. So again, I'm saying that this is an estimation, this is a forecasting, right? But the advantage is this is a very, very clear indication of what you can expect at the end of the day, right? And look, we have also come up with another very interesting feature, which is called product ideas, right? And this is especially important and useful for bigger sellers who are looking for a category domination, where you already have product or products and you are looking at essentially expanding your portfolio, right? And also you tend to launch products at every quarter. You kind of either launch the iteration of the current product or you try to launch new products, right? So in this case, product ideas is a tool which will come into help, where you kind of input your category and we do all the heavy lifting for you, which means we tend to focus on all the newly launched product, the best sellers and the rank varying products, all of them, and then kind of create it as a list and share with you on a periodic basis, right? So again, this is a catalog which you can get inspiration from, and then you can look at either launching those products or launching the iteration of those products, right? So as I told you, like both the product research and the product ideas, both features tend to help you in terms of doing product research in a better way, right? So I think whatever we spoke here, as I told you, like I wanted to kind of merge it in this 20 minutes of slide. And here, what I've done is like, these are the kind of checklist, or these are kind of the good to have, I mean, things which our successful sellers have kind of taken into account whenever they launch a new product, right? So I understand there are many, I mean, at least on Amazon, at least 40 to 50% of the sellers are still beginner sellers who are yet to launch or just launch the product and waiting for the initial success, right? But in this category, I think, and you see, I mean, at least this global pandemic has accelerated the e-commerce adoption also in a great way, right? So now, as a beginner, what are those things you need to essentially kind of look at, right? I mentioned to you about the 3 Ps, very important, right? The price, positioning, and the final product. At the same point of time, a lot of people start with a budget, but they never think of the advertising after that. They think magically once I launch up, once I procure a product, get into Amazon warehouse, the sales will start. It's not like that, right? You're competing to around 500 million products out there on Amazon, right? And you're competing with 500 million products to be on the organic ranking there, right? So always keep it to account and keep a specific advertising budget. Again, it depends on the category, it depends on the specific niche you are in, right? Depend on that, the conversion rate, the click-through rate, everything can actually change, right? And again, I have seen people making this rookie mistake of launching multiple products and not able to enough concentrate on one product. So I won't suggest you to launch more than 2 products initially. Start with 1 or 2 products. Make sure that you understand the customer better, you understand the niche better, and then you are already moving into the intermediate bucket where you understand your niche, you created a set of customers, and you either stay with the niche. Most of the time what I've seen is like they stay with the niche. Either if they're in the pets category or they're in the health and household, they continue to be in the same category, and then kind of launch more complementary products or products which are very similar, either an iteration of the product or a new product, right? But intermediate is a stage where you need to start thinking about your gross revenue, right? Which is essentially the sales minus cost of goods minus fees, all the Amazon fees minus the ad spend, right? And here is a point where you need to also look at all the long-term fees, how much inventory, all those things you need to look at this phase, right? And also, there is a very, this is a trend which was already existing before, but especially with the pandemic, we have seen all the intermediate sellers, they're also started looking at launching in multiple geographies of the same marketplace, because you have mastered, by this time you have already mastered essentially Amazon. You know all the basics of Amazon. It's very easier for you to essentially kind of replicate the success in another marketplace if your product has demand, instead of going into a complete new marketplace like, let's say, Walmart or eBay or Etsy or any other platform, right? So our suggestion in this case would be to essentially replicate the same success in other geographies of the same marketplace, right? And I'm sure that at this point of time, you are also thinking very, very hard in terms of your brand, right? And what your brand represents, and what do you want the brand, how do you want your customers to remember your brand, right? But again, as an advanced seller, again, when you do the product research, as I told you, your thought process is totally different. You're looking at essentially the category domination. You're looking at year-long demand. You're looking at winning the holiday season. How can you be in the top pages of Amazon during the holiday season? At this point, along with selling in other geographies, you would have already started selling in other marketplaces, right? And we have seen in one of our ecosystem seller recently putting in the Reddit about his products, some of his top products being suppressed by Amazon recently, right? So you don't want to put all your eggs into one basket, right? You are looking at essentially expanding, widening your portfolio and getting into multiple marketplaces, right? And it's a time also where you also tend to look at your product and looking at all the other opportunities in terms of sourcing, right? I mean, is it possible? It might not be that economical, but is it possible for you to source a product either locally or depend on multiple manufacturers, all those aspects? And finally, the shelf life of the product, right? So those are the important checklist. And I know this is a very, very wide subject, and I don't know how much I could essentially cover all the topics. But
Yeah, I think Dilip, this table, go back to that table. I think that is very, very useful. And I think a lot of beginners, especially, they get confused and they think that they need to do everything right and they need to do their branding and all even before they launch a product. But I think that's not important. So you've just, listed out everything very clearly over here. And I think this is going to be very useful for people. So yeah, I mean, start slow, start with one or two products and focus on getting the process right, focus on getting your sourcing right and learning the entire process as well, and then gradually decide on your niche and focus on your niche, and then gradually grow. I think this is a great table and yeah, very well put together, so thanks a lot for that.
yeah.
Okay, guys,
So
do you have any questions for Dilip? Post them in the comments now. We have a couple of minutes before we move on. Yes, Dilip, go ahead.
yeah. So I think I'm very, very thankful to Global Sources and the entire team who has put together this amazing conference in a very short period of time. And I mean, as a token of appreciation, I would like I would like this whole ecosystem to grow. And we see Mekla at the Global Sources and the India Sourcing Summit, and I'm sure I'm very, very happy to see this ecosystem growing and sellers helping each other and a lot of experts out there who is there to help you out, right? So what as a special offer for all the attendees attending this session or the entire conference, what we would essentially ideally like to give the platform free for the complete platform free for a month. Generally it's 7 days of free trial, so 30 days of free access. Please either drop me an email to gs@sellerapp.com, or you can visit this page, which is which is link l.sellerapp.com/gs. And also one of our expertise is also recently has been in terms of scaling your revenue through advertising, right? So we'll be happy to look at your search term reports and see what are the options, what are the different levers which can help you in terms of your growth, right? So yeah, looking forward.
Yeah, fantastic. So first of all, Dilip, thanks so much to Seller App for partnering with Global Sources and being one of the sponsors. And yeah, thanks a lot for this offer. So just to be clear, this offer is not only for paid attendees of the summit, it's for anybody watching this webinar basically, or this session of the show. So yeah, I mean, I was telling Dilip, like, what if you get hundreds of people? He's like, never mind, we can manage it. So okay, so we've got one question here. Let's take this. Abdullah is asking, which is the best marketplace or country and budget to launch a product for an intermediate seller in that marketplace?
I think very interesting question, Abdullah. I'll say it depends a lot on the product and the specific niche, right? But if I need to start e-commerce selling, I will obviously start with US because it's the biggest market. And the e-commerce penetration is really almost on par with the offline commerce, right? So, but again, it depends a lot on your product.
Okay, fantastic. Well, guys, definitely check out this webpage, l.sellerapp.com/GS. This is a customized page that they have created only for Global Sources Virtual Summit. And this is an exclusive offer for all of the attendees and everyone over here. So definitely check this out. Okay, please post where we can get your presentation. So, Mikala, we will send the presentation to attendees, to paid attendees of the summit. So, yeah, I will make sure you get the presentation and I will post about it in the group, and you'll also get an email. Yeah, cool. Okay, so Dilip, thank you so much for your time today, and we'll see you again. We have another session with you where you're going to do a live demo of the Seller App platform. So we're looking forward to that as well. Okay, yeah. So I'll see you around, Dilip. Take care. Bye-bye. Okay, awesome. So that was a great session about product research, and I really liked that table that Dilip had done with all of the different items listed for beginners, intermediate, and advanced sellers. Okay, so let's move on to our next session, and this is an Ask Me Anything session. So I need you guys to all wake up. Hello, is anybody there? I need more questions, more comments. Okay, so let me invite my guests here. So first of all, we have Margaret Jolly, Chris Thomas, and Sean Wee from OFX. Hi, guys.
Hello, Medla.
Good to see
Hello.
you. Okay. Awesome. So, yes, this is an Ask Me Anything session, and we will ask our guests to introduce themselves first and tell you what they specialize in, what their expertise is in. But basically, you can ask any questions related to e-commerce, sourcing, or payments. Okay, so let's do introductions first. Margaret, do you want to introduce yourself first?
Yes, certainly, Megla. Look, I actually began selling on Amazon about 4 years ago. Started off in China and South Korea, then sort of found some really great Indian products, moved over to sourcing from there, and that was for the last 3 years. I've had one brand from there, and just about hopefully in the next couple of days we'll launch my second brand. We'll go live with a totally different product that I found when we were over there last year. I also obviously are a coach on the India sourcing trip along with my friend Chris beneath me there, and where I also do some hosting on the virtual India sourcing show, and I also do some private coaching. So yeah, I'm retired.
Chris, how about you?
How are you, Megla? Are you going all right up there?
I'm good. Where are you this side?
Hang on, Sean, you all right? I love this. Okay, so that's awesome. I'm a jack of all trades. I'm expert in nothing. I know a bit about Amazon. I know a bit about sourcing. I know a bit about selling e-commerce. I have my own website. And what else do I do? Oh, I've done a bit of crowdfunding as well. I've launched a product on Kickstarter a few years back, and also run a podcast as well called the Australian Seller Podcast as well. So that's me.
And you have recently exited your business, right?
I have. Actually, it's the second exit in 2 years. So I exited one about this time last year, and I've just exited my main brand about 6 weeks ago. So that's been interesting. It took a long time, but we got there. So yeah, I'm actually just partnering more with other people with their Amazon businesses at the moment on various products. So I'm not actually sort of in the trenches myself, but have been for a long time. So hopefully I can help out today with any questions that people might have.
Awesome. Sean, how about you?
Hi, everybody. I'm glad to be here. My name is Sean. I'm based in Singapore. So if there's anyone based in Singapore on this call as well, do give me a shout out. I currently head up the OFX Singapore office, and my team assists the e-commerce sellers and other businesses to understand, how we can help them as an OFX payments specialist payments provider. How we can help businesses like yourselves, e-commerce sellers, to be able to get started, as well as to be able to maximize, right, and optimize your payments capabilities. So I've been in the payments industry for 10 years, so understand really how crucial it is for businesses to really have a good process and solution. Hopefully, we can do some discussions further on, and then, hopefully whatever that I can add value to your businesses, to your own thoughts and your own ideas, that this session is going to be fruitful for you.
Awesome. So guys, let's see your questions now. Somebody's saying best looking panel in any Amazon presentation. Tracy Brady Brunch. Okay, awesome. So let's get started over here. Let's start a discussion. There are a couple of things that I do want to talk about while we wait for people's questions to come in. So first of all, Q4. I mean, all of your Amazon sellers, of course, and Q4 is going to be very different this year, to say the least. So what are your expectations for Q4? Margaret, do you want to go first?
Well, I'm hoping for a really great Q4. I think it's been very up and down the last, particularly couple of weeks. I think probably between Halloween, the elections, COVID getting worse, the whole thing seems to have snowballed. But today I've had a great sales day, but then somebody else messaged me and said, I've had a really bad day. So it's a bit early to tell, but I would think from now on we should be on a roll. And I mean, people are going to realise, I think, moving forward, it's only 6 or 7 weeks to Christmas, so they're going to start focusing on, I think, that now. There's been too much distraction, I think, in the background.
Right. And how prepared do you think is Amazon as far as shipping in products and checking in products and making sure that everything is ready and in time? Because I was actually seeing some of the Facebook groups where people were saying that their products are not available until January now. I mean, even though the products were sent into the Amazon warehouse like last week, but they're not available until January. So
I think they might be a bit confused too. What happens is sometimes you'll get a really long date, and then once they've checked in, it'll become, it might only take a couple of weeks. I've had a few people that have come to me with, dates 28th of December, and all of a sudden it's 5 days away. So I don't think that's a real issue. But I'm not finding, I've got all my stock in 3PL, and I've been drip feeding, and I've had things I put in, like sent the stickers over to my 3PL on like a Thursday night, and following Monday it was actually live, checked in and done and dusted. So I don't know, Chris, what have you found the same, or have you had?
I actually haven't done any shipments recently, so I'm a little bit out of the loop in terms of how long it's taken to check items in and to receive them and then obviously set them live. I think there's also, probably just sort of circling back on December, most years we have to wait until we get to Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and that tends to really kick things off. And it was interesting this year, there was quite a big spike for a lot of sellers, including myself, just for Prime Day, which was really good. And I was hoping that might sort of keep the wave flowing all the way through, but I reckon the election, particularly in the US, has really impacted what's happening. Very, very quiet. But hopefully after now it's all been settled, we're back on track.
Yeah, and I think too, like I'm doing a small parcel delivery. I think if you do like a container, I think that's where there is a huge delay. I've heard of people having containers sitting and like larger, shipments waiting. Whereas if you just do smaller, I just do it every few days and I don't have a problem with it. So I think it might be the quickest way. But I shouldn't tell everyone that; they'll all start doing it.
Lose your edge.
The containers and LTLs. But look, at the moment as well, with the 200 inventory limits that we can actually send to Amazon, most people, we're pretty much forced to use, small parcel delivery. So, it's not. Look, everybody's under the same, in the same boat there, unless you've got a product that's been selling really well and you've got a bit of history behind it. So, interesting times. Really tough time to try and launch. You shouldn't probably be launching that hard anyway, right at the moment. But a lot of.
See what happens.
Well, my students are basically having to find a 3PL in a heartbeat and then get as much inventory into the 3PL and then do what you're doing, Mo, which is to do drip feed into Amazon as required. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay, let's take a couple of questions here. So this one's for Sean, for sure. The market has been highly volatile in the past few months, or as always. It's tricky dealing with multiple transactions in various currencies on a daily basis. Any tips for us on how to best leverage? Yeah, I think this is a great question, Sean. And, as Amazon sellers, we are, of course, receiving payments from Amazon, then we are paying our suppliers, whether in China or India, and there's so much, transaction happening. And of course, OFX specializes in, currency conversions and all. So, can you give some tips?
Sure. Before I answer that question, though, just one little insight. So I think Amazon just released the sales numbers in October for its Amazon Prime Day, and which set a new record for third-party sellers. So if that's anything to go by, hopefully the upcoming season, it will be a fantastic season for all the e-commerce sellers, right? Breaking new ground.
Fingers crossed.
Definitely fingers crossed. Moving to the question. Well, I guess as an e-commerce seller, pricing is really competitive, right? Everything's all online, so there's a lot of transparency as well. So sellers always need to differentiate in terms of branding, quality, how different with the price point in terms of they are setting their sales for. And it's also important to manage the back end side, right? When you're selling at this particular price point, at this price, what is your cost going to be for you, right? What's going to be your margins versus your cost of goods purchase, as well as your cost of FX conversion. So this is the part whereby OFX helps businesses to be able to see and to manage effectively, based on the currency pairs that they need to buy and then they need to sell at, whether there's any high volatility currency pairs that they're dealing with, or whether or not it's natural hedge that they are receiving US dollars from Amazon US and then pay out in US dollars also to their suppliers. And also where there's natural hedge, that's the best case scenario because they don't really get impacted by the volatility. However, they would still need to bring some of their sales proceeds back home, right, as profits, actualized profits. And there's also a cost in terms of leveraging of payments platforms to be able to then manage to receive and then to pay out. So really it's about, having that efficiency in terms of how you are set up, whether there's any aspects in which you can better optimize your payments, your receiving, and we always advise and encourage e-commerce sellers, especially new sellers, right, to be able to identify what's most important for them, know what they're in for in the markets, right, and as payments providers, we need to differentiate ourselves, right, and so do other payments providers out there. So we have our advantages of which other a vast majority of companies like us offer our platforms at no cost, right? And as such, you can pick and choose and you can try, to see what's best for you. So really, it's all about understanding, prioritizing what's important for you, knowing what's expected in the market, how you will deal with those unexpected or uncertain movements in the currencies, and as such, you'll be able to effectively manage that cost component more effectively. Hope that helps.
Okay, fantastic. So let's see, we have a couple more questions. Do you have a ballpark number for first product orders? Do you do a test order, or do you go straight for something that can be spread across the various warehouses? Okay, who wants to take this one? Chris or Margaret?
Do you want to go, Chris, or not?
Both of you go. Who's going first?
Okay, well, I'll go first. I don't particularly do test orders because I'm finding that if you start doing like 200 item shipments, that the shipment cost far outweighs anything. You'll end up not making a cent. I've had so many people come to me who have only been doing 150, 200 products because of this new Amazon rule, but then their shipping per product can be $7 or $8 because if it's too large to do an air shipment, it just becomes very expensive. So my suggestion to quite a few people is, instead of just doing one product, maybe do 3 of 200 each. So you've got your eggs spread around a little bit, they're not all in one basket, and out of the 3 you might get one real winner and one to just, they might coast along behind each other. So that way then your shipping cost, you can, probably reduce your costs down by probably 3/4 of it almost by putting all your products together. So that's my take on it. I just don't. And the other thing is, if your product takes off, like with mine, I'm launching, I didn't want to have 200. If it takes off, I'll be out of stock, in the first few weeks, and I'm going to miss Christmas. So I've bit the bullet and gone big.
Nice one.
Nice on one, a prayer.
Yeah, it's a really tough question. Sorry, I was actually muted before. I forgot that I'd put the mute on, so I was just talking to myself. But look, it is a tough one because, if you do load up on thousands of units and it's a dud, then it's really hard at that point, particularly if you don't live in the US, to figure out what to do with all that inventory if you can't sell it. And that, that does happen. So not everything that you launch on Amazon works, I can guarantee it. No. So no matter how good and how experienced you are, there's always going to be a dud or two. But yeah, so I'm kind of with you, Margaret. Sort of, it depends on the item too. Like if it's a big, heavy thing, then just a couple of 100 units should do the trick, because you're probably not going to sell that many. Like the velocity won't be that high. But certainly for sort of medium, that sort of $20, $30 type of product, which is probably where most people should be playing if they're starting out. You probably want to look at least 500. What do you think, Mark? Maybe up to 1,000? Yeah,
well, look, it depends on the product. Some people don't want to commit 100, but and I think they do.
We're losing Mark there.
Is she frozen?
She's frozen. She's gone. Oh my God, we're gonna have to cover for her. All right.
You'll have to cover for her.
Oh no, I'm totally stuck there. I've lost my wingman. All right, let's move on to the next question.
Yeah, let's move on to the next one.
I think we've explored that pretty deeply. That's good.
Okay, Tracy, how do you find the right artist for your design?
Oh my goodness, there's a few there. So obviously there's Fiverr, but my go-to place at the moment is definitely the groups. So the Facebook groups. You can ask in mine, you can ask in Megala's, you can ask in Marg's, you can, there's dozens and dozens of Facebook groups out there who can put you in the right direction. So I tend to go with word of mouth quite a lot on this sort of stuff. That's probably the best answer I can give at the moment.
Yeah, that's good.
Hopefully
and I think, Fiverr as well. I think those, Fiverr or other similar websites, those are pretty good too. Okay, which is the best bank for a New Zealand seller to use for USD payments from Amazon? also for paying suppliers. OFX.
Yeah, it has to be. I'm going to jump
You're still
in.
using banks?
Let me just jump in. Let me jump in for 1 second before Sean gets to answer this question. But it's really important to understand, particularly just starting out, a lot of people, a lot of new sellers will try and get a USD bank account in their home country. Now, the problem with that is it doesn't work. Amazon will always, if you live in New Zealand, Amazon, even if you're earning US dollars and you have a US dollar bank account in New Zealand, Amazon will always pay you in New Zealand dollars every single time. They do not do currency conversion. Well, all they do is currency conversion because they make so much money. So you really do need a solution like OFX to be able to receive those US dollars, and then you can figure out how to get them back to your bank in New Zealand dollars later. All right, Sean, over to you with the weather.
The weather looks fine. Sunny days ahead.
Yeah, and Sean, can you explain to people like what is the benefit of using a service like OFX, and can you maybe give some statistics or data, or I don't know, just some examples of how we can save money in the transactions and all? Yeah.
Right. So I think before we get to the statistics part, right, the boring part, the more interesting part is that, so like what was shared earlier as well. Thanks a lot, Chris, for the heads up as well. I need to pay for advertisement then. We help businesses like yourselves who are based not based in the US, right? So the question came from someone who was a New Zealand seller, but then selling to Amazon US. So when your business is not based in the US, then we help sellers like yourselves to be able to have a USD bank account based in the US, such that you can configure it into your Amazon account, and then you will be able to receive your sales proceeds directly from Amazon into that OFX USD account, right? And that account number is actually unique to yourself as a business, right? So that effectively helps you to set up a receiving account that will help you receive your funds, hold your funds, and then allow you to have that flexibility to then pay out from that account to your suppliers directly, or if you want to convert and send it back home to your home bank account, that's fine as well. So that's the underlying value that we help businesses like yourselves. And then what's an additional bonus is that we don't charge for this facility, right? So OFX, we only earn our revenues, our margins through foreign exchange and through any funds that gets paid out from those accounts, and nothing else. So there's no minimum amount that you need to hold in that account. There is no fees for maintaining of that account. So essentially, it's a very low cost, effectively fee-free way for you to have a setup to be able to run your business. Right, so that's the ultimate value. And just a quick note on the currency conversion then. So Amazon would charge you, I'm sure Chris will understand, 2 to 3% just for the foreign exchange conversion piece, right? And you have no say, no empowerment over that at all. Whereas with OFX, you get charged less than 1%. So that's a huge, massive savings just on the FX component itself.
I agree. And one last thing to add there is that it is a death by a thousand cuts type of business when you're working in e-commerce. And if you're receiving New Zealand dollars back into New Zealand and being converted from US dollars, you're going to lose, because Sean was right. You will get hit for, I'm not sure what the rates are at the moment, but they have been as high as like 4% currency fee exchange rate thing. Anyway, I'm not sure. You can probably explain it better than me, Sean. But at the same time, you're going to have to pay a supplier somewhere, usually in US dollars. So you're going to have to convert it all the way back, and your bank's going to sting you on the way out. So on the way in, you get hurt, and on the way out, you get hurt. That's why OFX. I've always used OFX. I'm not trying to do an ad for them, but seriously, having a US dollar bank account in the US, and indeed in my case as well in Europe. So I also had a GBP, or a Great British Pounds, and also had a Euro account too, and a Japanese account too. So it's a very, very flexible way of having banks, having a bank account in basically all these different countries where you're receiving income from Amazon or any other marketplace generally. That's it. I'm done with that one.
Okay, let's take the next question. So how might a company or brand with traditional bricks and mortar retail experience, including product design and sourcing, find a great Amazon or other e-com channel partner to handle the nuts and bolts of e-com sales? Clearly, there's a lot more to this than just listing your product and watching it sell. Any suggestions?
I'll take this one as well. So occasionally I help Australian companies to sell internationally on Amazon, and I do consult to them about how to do that. And I've got a handful of clients at the moment, time permitting. But there's also other really good companies out there as well. Like a good friend of mine, Hamish Conway, he runs a company called Sell Global. It's a New Zealand-based company. sellglobal.co.nz. Hamish helps a lot of New Zealand and Australian companies not only sell in America, but also throughout Europe and, of course, in Australia as well. So he's a real go-to guy as well. But I'm happy to have a conversation with you too. I don't want to push my stuff too much, but I can help if
you can, Chris. It's okay.
No, that's fine. Got some really, really fun little brands that I'm working with at the moment and giving them a bit of a hand. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's probably the most enjoyable part of my life. That's like a get carried away.
Yeah, so you can look for Chris at theaustralianseller.com. That's his website.
Right.
So go check him out over there.
Yep.
Okay. So Margaret is trying to join back. She's having some internet connections. So let's just wait for her. But Chris, you mentioned UK, right? So you've been selling on Amazon UK and other marketplaces in Europe as well, or only UK?
Yes, yeah, all of them. So, and Amazon's rolling out more marketplaces there. We just launched they've launched Sweden. More recently, it was the Netherlands. Before that, there was the big five. So there was the UK, there was Germany, France, Italy, and Spain. That's a big catchment of around about 700 million people that live in Europe. It's much bigger than the United States. Not all of them, of course, shop on Amazon, but it also gives you there's pros and cons to anything, right, in life. So with certainly with Europe, there's a lot of tax. Not a lot. There is a lot of tax, first of all, but they're also very, very. They pounce on you if you don't pay your taxes on time. So you typically have to file what's called a VAT return. In some countries, that's every month, which adds a lot of administrative overhead. So you need to be quite a big seller with that. In other countries like the UK, it's every quarter, I believe. There's also certain thresholds that deal with tax. So the VAT or the value-added tax, or in Australia, it's basically the same thing as a GST. It's 20% typically. It depends on the country. And then just to sort of put the icing on the cake, there's Brexit as well. So throw that in. But it's been a really it's been a pretty good market, a bunch of marketplaces to sell, and it certainly diversifies you. And when you had Dilip before, he was talking about mine do one or two or three products really well, and don't once you've got that sort of base load of revenue coming in. I think he was recommending at that point, it's a really good opportunity at that point to move out, say, into Canada, maybe a marketplace for you, or indeed into Europe, potentially Japan, Australia, all the different marketplaces that are out there. Singapore, of course, Megan.
Yeah, definitely. Singapore, I think Amazon Singapore is a fairly new marketplace, and it's growing a bit slowly. But I think the potential for Singapore is if and when they expand to other countries in Southeast Asia. So I think that's when that's the real opportunity over here. So I think third-party sellers, especially who are not based in Singapore, they should consider selling in Singapore now, maybe sending a test order and, just testing out the market and seeing what sells and getting their listing set up. And even though the Singapore market itself, e-commerce market, is small, we're just like 5 million people or so. But the overall Southeast Asian market, I think, is pretty huge, and that's where the real opportunity will be. Okay, so Margaret is joining via her phone. Hello, Margaret.
Thanks.
It's like, no, Paul, I'm just trying to reboot now. It's come back on, but I don't know how it go.
Okay, never mind.
Doing beautifully.
You're good. Okay, so Chris, you were saying something.
Oh, I was just going to say that one of the things I'm doing now that I've sold my Amazon business, and that included Europe, so the whole lot went with the sale. So, but my brother is set up in Europe at the moment. So what we've been doing is actually sourcing products that are really successful out of the United States and buying those products and then selling them into Europe. Now the benefit of that is, we're looking for products that basically aren't being sold in Europe but are very popular and very successful in the US. And we launched one recently. We sold like 200 units of this particular product, about $20 a pop, or £20 each, and we sold out in a week. So that was kind of like a test order to one of the previous questions that we fielded. I think it might have been Amanda, I can't remember. But so yeah, we've ordered like another 2,500 of these things. So we hopefully next year it'll really kick off, and they're just about to arrive. So so that's. But anyway, getting back to the point I was trying to make, which is around Singapore. If you are an existing seller in the US or other countries, with the global sort of review consolidation that Amazon's rolled out in the last 12 months, what it means is that you're not struggling launching a brand new product, in a brand new marketplace with no reviews and all that sort of stuff. You kind of jump the first hurdle because all the reviews coming right across with your product. So the minute that you launch it into those new marketplaces, you're not sort of starting right at the bottom. You've actually sort of halfway home. You just got to do a quick launch. The reviews will take care of the rest. And when you land on page one, bingo, you're off to the races. So there's another little tip and a strategy there you might want to explore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What about Australia? I mean, Amazon Australia has been around for a couple of years now. Is it picking up now? I mean, over the last, we had Simon Clarkson from Channel Advisor who inaugurated the summit earlier today, and he was talking about e-commerce overall in Australia, and that it has grown significantly over the last few months, thanks to COVID. Mm-hmm. So, but what are you seeing out there?
Well, I'm not sure whether Mark wants to handle this one, but I'll quickly jump in with my 2 cents. Look, Amazon Australia, they're just about to open up another warehouse. So they're going to have 5, I think, by the end of next year, thereabouts. So we'll have 2 in Melbourne, which is where I live in the south of the country. We're looking at 2 in Sydney, 1 in Brisbane. So I'm already up to 5. And I think there's one being built out in Perth, which is over way out in the west. Very, very geographically sparse country in terms of the population and where we all live. Which has certainly helped us with COVID, I think. But but in terms of like e-commerce, look, Amazon is definitely picking up here. They're not going away. They're advertising really hard to try and get more customers. So they're pushing the Prime membership side of it to try and get that free shipping and all the other benefits that Prime offers here to Australians. But at the same time, they're also trying to get more merchants on board, and it's a little bit of a chicken and egg. They're trying to get more customers, so the merchants are more keen to come on board, and with more customers you get more sales, and so they're trying to sort of spin it up, and hopefully in the next 12 months we'll see significant growth from Amazon. But there are of course other marketplaces as well that are the incumbents. So we've got ebay.com.au, which is Australia's kind of favourite e-com destination, and then there's other marketplaces like Catch and Kogan, and Gumtree is another one. So I think if you're coming to Australia and you're quite a successful seller in the US or indeed in Europe, you probably do need to think about a multi-marketplace approach. So not just Amazon, but also eBay and some of the other marketplaces that are really successful here. Hope that helps with Australia.
Yeah, absolutely. And Margaret.
Ooh.
I'm trying to leave. There we go. Is that better?
Much better.
Yes, that's better.
I'm back.
So Margaret, we were talking about Amazon Australia and also other marketplaces in Australia. So I think Catch, and what experience do you have on those marketplaces, and what are you seeing?
Well, we did do Amazon Australia very early in the piece, but I just found it wasn't worthwhile for our products. So we've actually had those on Catch and just about got rid of it. We're not bringing any more to Australia. They were our first sort of failure on Amazon US, and we brought them back here and have virtually got rid of most of them. I've just picked up the last lot from our storeroom, and so I've only got a few to go. But a few people I know have been doing quite well on Amazon Australia. It seems to have taken off quite a bit of late. So I think this Christmas for a lot of people here, once again, depending on what you're selling, I think Australia will probably do quite well, because people are just turning, I think they've learned so much because of COVID to go online and not bricks and mortar. So it's just going to be the way for a lot of people, hopefully.
Agreed. Yeah, one last thing I'll add on Australia as well is the riches in Australia are not in the niches. Okay. So in America, you tend to look for kind of niche products. There's a high keyword demand. There's a low sort of amount of competition. In Australia, it's the top level categories. Just if you want to sell an oil diffuser or something, which would just be crazy. I'm not saying sell oil diffusers. Please don't do that. I think that's all pretty much saturated. But certainly the top level categories, and maybe just a level down, is probably where you want to play if you want some volume.
So garlic presses, yes or no?
Look, to be honest, I haven't looked, but if you give me a couple of seconds, I'd check it. Yeah, I'm not sure. Probably not a good idea. Yeah, I think that's just a perennial.
Hello from South Africa, Spazify.
Hey.
Ooh. Okay, let's see. Adam, how does a service like OFX work with marketplaces? What are the advantages of using a payments company than traditional merchants such as PayPal?
I guess this is for me.
Yes.
Well, thanks for the question, Adam. So we specialize in providing a solution that caters to e-commerce sellers who may be selling on marketplaces like Amazon or elsewhere. And there is more flexibility in terms of what that solution would be able to offer you, right? So with the global currency account solution from OFX, you'll then be able to have up to 7 major currencies, so that helps you to expand out into other marketplaces as well, other than Amazon US. And these currency accounts help you to receive funds from the marketplaces, right? And if you are to sell to business distributors as well in the US, then these accounts also allow you to receive funds from such business clients, right? So there's more flexibility in terms of what accounts can do for you. Different from PayPal. PayPal would generally require the other party who is paying you to also have a PayPal account. There are certain limitations in terms of after you get the funds into PayPal, what can you do with those funds, right? So there's flexibility in terms of dealing with receiving payouts, conversions back to your bank accounts. Typically, these are the main areas in which differentiates our solution from PayPal. But happy to speak further. If you have any specific questions around this area, you might be using PayPal, you might be wondering, what's the benefit, what's going to be a use case. So happy to speak and discuss further and see how else we can help you.
Can I also add, and again, I'm going to do an advertisement here for OFX, it's killing me. I'm just going to say one word. Sorry, Sean, you owe me a beer.
I do.
Yeah. Is price. Like PayPal just kill you on fees. They also don't really integrate that well into marketplace, apart from maybe obviously eBay. I don't believe they integrate into Amazon at all. I think they're kind of like enemies, So when you receive money at PayPal, like they just absolutely kill you on the way in, on the way out. Just not happy with PayPal. I've used them forever because of my e-commerce store. So I used to receive payments into my e-com store, from my e-com store into there. But yeah, currency conversion, that sort of stuff's terrible.
Yeah, well, I don't think you could actually pay into PayPal like Amazon need an actual bank account. I don't think you can send your fortnightly payment into PayPal. So you really have to have. But I think a lot of people don't actually understand the fact that they really need like their business bank account. Like if, for us here in Australia, we still have our business bank account with our local bank, and then we transfer money into the overseas accounts and work from there, and then you just bring your profits back eventually into your own account. And I think a lot of people get confused how that particular section works. But it's quite simple. Once you start doing it, it's quite easy, and it's nice when you can bring some home.
Yeah, it's that dichotomy, trying to balance between I want to grow and I want to reinvest in my business, but actually I need to feed my kids. Yeah, so. Damn it, it's a tough one. Just don't have
Chris,
kids.
Tell us.
Don't have kids. Just stop that.
Just focus on Amazon. Grow your Amazon business.
Contraception is good. All right.
And then you can sell it one day. So Chris,
exactly.
Tell us about your experience selling your businesses. And this is something that a lot of Amazon sellers, of course, strive to do, right? Mm-hmm. So what is some advice that you have for people who are maybe thinking about selling their business in the future?
Well, I think the first thing to do is have it in the back of your mind that you want to exit. So you need to be planning for that, maximizing the amount of what I'd call take-home profit. So if you understand the way that a broker or indeed a buyer is sort of valuing your business, then that's half the battle. So one of the things that's really important, particularly when a broker is running a ruler across the numbers, is to be on top of your numbers. It's a real scramble if you're not, and you don't have your profit and loss in that, all sort of set up. So you can see what's called the SDE, which is the seller discretionary earnings. Now, the way that is described basically means it's like the gross profit. I'm not going to get into EBITDA or any of that sort of hoo-ha, the financial stuff. But basically, if let's put it this way, let's say that you've got an Amazon business and it's generating $5,000 in profit. So you paid everybody, you paid Amazon, you paid your suppliers, you got this $5,000 in profit. What you do with that money is up to you. That's why it's called discretionary earning. Whether you reinvest it in your business or whether you take it home and feed your children, don't recommend that bit. No, I do. Sorry, I was just being silly. But that $5,000 a month for an Amazon business that has proprietary type products or products that are sort of have a little bit of competitive advantage or whatever, then you could expect to get about 30x on the last 12 months. So let's say that you've let's say you've been earning an average of $5,000 in profit every month for the last 12 months. You will end up with an exit, which is 30 times that, which is $150,000. So if you sort of get that bit and you're maximizing your profit, you're using services like, dare I say, OFX, and like really just try to
2 pints.
just racking them up, but just basically having a profitable business. People want to buy those profitable businesses, and that the other thing that I will say too is that people who want to buy your business are also really looking to you in terms of, okay, you got it this far, what would you do next where's the headroom in this business? So you need to tell a story about, if I wasn't selling the business, then I would do X, Y, and Z or Z to grow it even further. And so leave a little bit left on the table for the guy, the people that are going to buy your business. So that's sort of really the it in a nutshell. There's not much else to add. Last year I was kind of a little bit lucky in that I was able to pick up a business that was a little bit distressed. I was able to turn that one around, and then I had some business partners there who wanted to exit, so we had to exit much earlier than we wanted to, but we still made a decent little return on that investment. And then this year, it's been great to have a bit of an exit, pull some money off the table, take a quick break, and then hoping to really supercharge in 2021. Back in the saddle.
Chris, you forgot to wear your OFX t-shirt.
Damn it. Yeah, this is terrible. Sorry, it's a running gag. I love running gags.
Okay, do you see any advantage in sourcing expensive consumer electronics from North America as opposed to the more common options of Hong Kong or other suppliers from Asia, considering similar shipping distance to New Zealand?
Not quite sure what the shipping distance to New Zealand bit means there.
No, yeah.
Are you looking to sell them in New Zealand or is that just for samples or something? I'm not quite sure. Does that Facebook user want to maybe just elaborate a little bit on that one?
Yeah, maybe could you elaborate on your question? Because there is not a lot of manufacturing happening in North America for electronics. So, if you're looking to buy OEM electronics, and you have to buy them from China, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and those are the basic production hubs for electronics products. Okay, so let's wait for more clarification on that question. Okay, Alicia, when launching a new e-commerce website, how would you recommend advertising your product website aside from paid ads? So, Chris, do you want to take this one first? Because, yeah, the SEO guru.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Certainly with a new website, SEO, if you're going to invest in search engine optimization, that's a long-term play. And that's a whole nother webinar and a whole nother session for another day. And SEO does take quite a long time in order to get those organic rankings. But, it's really tough to move outside of paid because like on Amazon right now, certainly has been for a long time, or certainly on Google, anything competitive has got a bunch of ads that just push all of that organic SEO, sort of visibility down the page. So in terms of free stuff, look, there's really the influencer stuff is a real option for you, although sometimes you've got to pay for influencers. I've got a lot of students that are doing really well on Instagram, really, really pushing and building communities and pushing out imagery and content on Instagram, which at this stage is free. Of course, there's Facebook. Anyway, you can build a community of people around your brand, and generally you can do that pretty much for free. Certainly on Facebook you can. You can do really well. So, they're sort of probably the main ways. And of course, I guess the last way would be if you can build a sort of an email list that then gives you that sort of email marketing. Yes, you got to pay because you need to, sign up with Aweber or Klaviyo or whoever's doing your email marketing. But then also you've got your owned audience. You've earned these people, you own those people. No, Amazon can never take them away from you. And they can be pretty cheap to talk, encourage people to buy your products as well.
Right. And of course, when you want to, build traffic to a new website, it takes time. It's not something that will happen overnight. So I think you need to be patient. All right. So yes, for selling in New Zealand, there are distributors of electronics in the US, which sometimes offer similar prices in Asia.
Okay. Are they getting those products manufactured in the United States, or are they just distributing from products that they've sourced from China?
Yeah, I'd say so.
I think it's a fair question because there is a lot of there's quite a lot of electronic production and manufacturing going on in the United States. Look, in New Zealand, I don't know what the marketplace is really. I'm assuming that you're talking about TradeMe, which is obviously the biggest one that's there. And probably eBay. Electronics is pretty tricky. There's generally quite a high return rate in electronics. I've played with electronics quite a bit on Amazon in the US, and my return rates were just through the roof. So you really need a lot of margin around that because it just seems to be a high chance of failure or people just not understanding how to use things properly. Tricky category to get in, but if you're already in that category...
So they're looking for distribution, only distribution, not really branding or private label.
Not really sure on that question. I'm not sure that I couldn't really compare the quality of the electronics, for example, that come out of China. And again, there's so many moving parts. So you've got all these different manufacturers and factories and stuff, and whether you do QC or anyway, it's tough. It's a tough question.
Yeah. And the brand owners, I guess, right? I mean, if you are looking to distribute another brand's products, then you have to make sure that the brand owner doesn't already have distributors in the country. So, they will require you to source products from those distributors. Sometimes they have exclusive distributors.
That's right.
Goods manufactured in China, obviously, but some middlemen companies sell them ex-states.
I think that might be in relation to the previous question, which was maybe goods manufactured in, Yep.
Okay, so Alicia has another question. Is there a standard percentage of your budget that beginners should set aside for ads? And so I guess she means, I don't think she's referring to Amazon PPC ads, right? Because she was talking about her own e-commerce website. So Alicia, can you clarify, is this ads in general or selling on Amazon or for your own website? But generally for Amazon, what would you say, Chris and Margaret?
It's tough. It depends on the cycle of what you're trying to do. Margaret, do you want to take this one? Sorry, I've been talking.
That's all right. No, well, to me, I think it depends on your product. I mean, you could be looking at 50 cents a click. You could be looking at $4 a click. So, I mean, there's a big difference in that and in the volume you want to sell, how hard you want to go at it. I mean, it's an open book. But, I mean, if you're just a new person with, 200 products, you can hardly afford to spend anything much on PPC. Or you're going to chew away your profit. But, you've really got to have, I think, done your homework before you actually choose your product to make sure that it's not something that's $4 a click because, unless it's a really high profitable, product or a really big selling product that you've got a huge turnover, you're not going to, to cover your costs.
That's right. And I'll just chime in there as well and just say that potentially when you're launching on a platform like Amazon, you generally really amp up the PPC costs. And then once you've got the organic rankings and starting to get those organic sales, you're not paying for those sales because you're ranking highly for various keywords that you've optimized for. That's when you can really start to dial things down just a little bit, just to sort of like maintain your rankings. So you're getting those sales through the keywords that you've optimized for, etc. So there's that to consider as well.
Specifically asking for her own e-commerce website. Any thoughts?
Yeah, again, that also depends a lot. So if you've got a really high converting website, that's actually a really good thing. Like my old website that I just sold had a conversion rate sort of sitting around 6 to 7%. And it also had very high margin products. So I actually had quite a lot of budget that I could afford to spend every month. I think if you're, mind you, I will say this as well, is that I was actually I think I was earning, I won't give away exact numbers because I've sold the company, but I was doing about 10% of my monthly revenue was devoted to PPC or Google Ads in particular. So hopefully that helps. Yeah, but I had the margin for it. So what was the other bit of the question?
So, yeah, how much would you set aside? What sort of budget would you set aside for marketing or paid ads for your own website?
Again, this is a tough one. I really like the rules that Kevin King put up. So he said, look, if you've got a budget of $5,000, and let's say we're just talking about products. So you got $5,000 budget to buy your first product. He always recommends that you spend about $2,000 on the product, and then have $2,000 in the bank, so that if your product really starts to sell, you got $2,000 so you can order more and keep yourself going. You need about $1,000 to really really kick that product off. So what's that? 25%. So around 25%, I think it's probably pretty reasonable.
Okay. So question from Amy: what advice do you have to quickly get rid of a product you don't want to continue anymore without losing too much money?
Oh, Amy, is it that bad?
I think there's probably a million people out there wanting that question answered.
Yep.
Who have either got a garage full of it, or it's sort of sitting in a 3PL. But look, I don't believe there is a really easy way. We bought stock back to Australia. I wouldn't do that again because shipping costs was so expensive. It wasn't really worth our while. To me, I would be getting rid of them as best I can to a distributor, but you're probably only going to get 10 cents or something. They don't offer much to get rid of it or donate it to charity and cut your losses and move forward. I think to me, you can spend too much time focusing on this thing that's sitting there, and I think you've just got to go, it didn't work, what's my next step, and off I go again, because you could spend a lot of time and money trying to get rid of something that's really not going to give you any money back.
Yeah, I'll just add to that as well. I think that in some cases, depending on the product, what you can do is basically, if you know your numbers, and you should know your numbers on the way in terms of what the product costs, cost of goods, what you've invested, all that stuff. So you know what your break even is. The first thing to do is basically get the thing to break even on Amazon, so that everyone that you sell, you're paying Amazon's fees, you're paying advertising, everything else, and you're getting your money back on the product that you invested in. That's the first step. The second step is, if you can be bothered, is then to use, it's basically to go into other marketplaces in the US, for example, if that's where you are. So you can go to eBay. I'm not sure what else there is, Walmart, whatever. Maybe you can try and do it that way.
Lots over there.
Yeah, you might be able to do that, and potentially maybe even use Amazon's fulfillment service as your 3PL. But of course, there's terms of service with eBay and Walmart. You're not really supposed to be sending packages to Walmart customers or eBay customers that are branded with an Amazon box. So
it depends. Yeah, depends on the product, really. Because if it's not selling on Amazon, is it worth moving it to another sort of, warehouse that can distribute it to other sites? You've got to weigh up your options, because if it's not going to sell on Amazon, is it really going to move very much anywhere else? Is it just the product? It's a hard one.
Sure is. It's a worse situation to get yourself into, that's for sure. I feel for people that are there.
Right. Yeah. So one last question for Sean. So Sean, if somebody wants to enter a new country or a new marketplace, what should they be mindful about foreign exchange?
Well, first and foremost is really understanding the volatility. What are they going to deal with, right? So if they enter a new market, so if they weren't sure about US in the first place, they're going to receive US dollars. What does that mean in terms of converting back to their home currency, right? If it's going to be volatile, at the end of the day, the foreign exchange might cause you to break even or actually hit into your profits. So really understanding the volatility of the currency pairs that you are ultimately going to convert that into, that's really important. What actions you can take to mitigate those exposure. So we've seen a lot of events, a lot of movements against the US dollars this year, particularly, right? With pandemic, with the elections, with Brexit that's up and coming as well. So there's a lot of risk sentiment that's been going crazy up and down. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who will be missing the tweets from Donald Trump as well. But such volatility and such market news really cause a strong change in the currency, which then ultimately impacts businesses like yours when you go into a new market. So understanding that, OFX, we've got currency experts. So that's one of our services that we pride ourselves for. So 24/7, you can call in, you can speak to a currency expert, and then understand, if you've got a big order that you intend to place, what does that mean for you in terms of that potential receivables in the markets that you're going to sell at, right? Is there any solution that's available for you to be able to protect yourself? What payment solutions would be effective for you in terms of, again, like I said earlier on, managing this receivables, holding the currencies and then paying out, what suits your business. And, like what Chris and Margaret have shared earlier on also is, ultimately you need a bank account back in your home country, right? So what's that currency that you ultimately want to convert all those profits into? So, knowing, planning for it, apart from the product, the quality, the logistics, the fulfillment, and so on, I think this is really essential in terms of the dollars and cents, right? So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, that's good.
Awesome. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so let's wrap things up over here. So do you guys want to tell people how they can reach you if anybody wants to get in touch or get more information, Chris?
Yeah, sure. Just head over to the Australian Seller on Facebook. So if you go to theaustralianseller.com/Facebook, please join my group and come and say good day.
Margaret.
Best way to talk to me.
Probably just on Facebook or Messenger. I do actually have a website as well for MJ Profit Solutions, but it's probably quicker just on Facebook, I think, or Messenger. Ping me a message.
Okay. Margaret Jolly. All right, Sean.
Right. So if you go to the landing page, ofx.com/theasianseller, so we've got a good partnership program over there, and being able to offer partnership rates for those who register through the online site. You can reach out to me if you're in Singapore. We can catch up over coffee, and I might owe you a pint like how I owe Chris now. So you can email me at sean.sean.wee@ofx.com. And I will link you up. If you're not in Singapore, I can link you up with the OFX expert in the relevant offices worldwide.
Awesome. Cool. Okay, so thank you all for joining us for this Ask Me Anything session, and I will see you around.
Okay, good luck with the rest of your show. Bye.
Thank you.
Yes,
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Mark. Thank you. Thanks, Megla.
Bye. Okay, guys, that was an incredible Ask Me Anything session. And our guests were super helpful and very generous with their advice. So with this, we come to the end of session 1 of Global Sources Virtual Summit. We're going to be back in 3 hours from now. So 6 p.m. Hong Kong time, Singapore time, Perth time, we're going to be back. But this is only going to be for paid attendees. So we're not going to be streaming on the Global Sources social media pages. But if you do want to join the paid virtual summit, you can still go to globalsources.com/summit, get your ticket. You can get replays of the sessions that you have missed, and you can also join the upcoming live sessions. We have over 20 sessions that we have to do, and I have a lot of work to do. Okay, so I will see you in 3 hours. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.